In Chapter 3, we'll hear from Tony about the history and philosophy of Columbia Land Conservancy.
The history of CLC, well, it was started in 1986. And like most land trusts, it started by a group of community volunteers. My recollection is correct. There was a proposed development that was coming in. There was a group of neighbors who were concerned about the development. And they met at a coffee table and they began discussions, the idea of a land trust. They formed the Columbia Land Conservancy. And like most land trusts, our organization started off all volunteers. We were fortunate enough to be able to hire staff pretty soon after the formation of the organization. They were focused on conservation easements, private land protection, and that was a big part of the work of the organization, and still is. Probably about 9 or 10 years ago, after doing a lot of successful conservation easement projects, the organization had a paradigm shift, and started thinking about acquiring land for public access. And we now have 12 or 13 sites throughout the county that we own. 7 of them are now officially open to the public. We've got another 2 that we hope to open next year. And we also do environmental education program. So we started this initiative called the Conservation Communities Initiative to acquire land for public access and to do this environmental education program. We do about 200 programs throughout the year. We have a full-time environmental educator, and we'll even provide busing to get kids out of the classrooms onto one of our conservation areas. We try to use them as an outdoor classroom. And it's been a real concerted effort on our part, trying to make a connection for children to the outdoors, trying to build the land stewards of tomorrow today. And there's not a lot of land trusts that do all of those things. Most land trusts are sort of focused on one program or another, whether it's private land protection or owning land for public access. We're a little bit unique in that we do all of those things, and we also try to work with the farming community, try to find ways to protect farmland, but also to encourage and promote farming as a viable industry here in Columbia County. And we also dedicate a lot of our time to working with municipalities and communities on land use planning issues.
I was impressed by how unique CLC is among land trusts in both trying to influence its community and in responding to its community's needs. I asked Tony why he thought CLC was different.
And part of it was just the board. We have a good representation of the community on our board. We have a healthy mix of farmers, teachers, locals, weekenders, business community leaders, and I think having that broad representation helps us to not be focused in one particular area or another. A lot of land trusts throughout the country are viewed as elitist, and I think it's justified in some ways, because when you're focused on protecting private lands, it doesn't give people the access, and a lot of times the work that you're doing seems somewhat intangible. I mean, yes, people's view sheds are protected as they're driving along the road, but it's hard to make that connection. And also Columbia County, we did a study a few years ago looking at the amount of public land in Columbia County compared to other counties in the region, and we found that we were dead last. There was less than 4% of the land in Columbia County is open to the public. It's been a real recognition of our organization and the board that people need to have a connection to the outdoor, and they need to have opportunities to be able to go out and visit a natural area, but also trying to respect the history of Columbia County, recognizing that it has been a tradition here of farming and forestry. We very much believe that people are part of the landscape. All of the sites that we own are open to the public, and we try to balance wildlife habitat protection with public access and try to encourage farming practices and conservation forestry practice and hunting even as a traditional recreation use here. So trying to be respectful of those traditions, but also trying to find ways to make connections with the people and the land.